The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, a familiar aroma to Mark and his three friends. It was late September, the kind of crisp autumn day that promised cool nights and golden mornings in the Olympic National Forest. They had driven for hours, leaving the city's light pollution and digital hum far behind, chasing the quiet solitude of the deep woods. Their destination, a remote, seldom-used trail leading to a pristine, unnamed lake, a spot they'd found marked on an old, faded topographical map. A secret, they called it. Mark, the unofficial leader and most experienced outdoorsman, meticulously set up their campsite. Sarah and David laughed as they wrestled with a stubborn tent pole, their voices echoing briefly against the ancient trees. Liam, ever the documentarian, already had his sturdy, weather-sealed camera running, capturing their arrival. He panned slowly across the towering firs, the dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy, the stream gurgling nearby. "Pure gold," he'd mumbled, adjusting the lens. This camera was an expensive gift, a passion project for Liam, who dreamed of producing short nature films. For this trip, it was meant to record their adventure, the sweeping vistas, the campfire stories, the triumph of reaching their hidden lake. It was a witness to their joy, their camaraderie, their last known moments of ordinary life. The next morning, the mist hung low, clinging to the forest floor like a shroud. Undeterred, the group packed light, leaving their main camp to hike towards the elusive lake. Liam, of course, carried the camera, filming their progress. The trail grew narrower, the trees denser, sunlight now struggling to pierce the thick canopy. The easy banter from the day before had dwindled, replaced by the rhythmic crunch of boots on fallen leaves and the distant, unsettling calls of unseen birds. Around midday, a strange silence descended. It wasn't just the absence of their conversation. It was a profound, almost unnatural quiet. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Sarah, usually so energetic, shivered, pulling her jacket tighter. "Does anyone else feel watched?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Mark tried to reassure her, but his own gaze swept nervously through the shadows between the trees. Liam kept filming, his lens now focused on the eerie stillness, capturing the subtle shift in the atmosphere. The forest, once a welcoming embrace, now felt like a vast, indifferent entity. The camera recorded the slight tremor in his hand, the way the light began to fade, even though the sun was still high, the growing sense of unease that settled over the small group, like a heavy, unseen blanket. The path ahead seemed to twist into deeper, older woods, a place where the familiar world felt increasingly distant. Weeks turned into months. The initial missing persons report had escalated into a full-scale search, then dwindled to a cold case. The Olympic National Forest, vast and unforgiving, had swallowed Mark, Sarah, David and Liam whole. No trace, no sign of a struggle, no discarded gear, no footprints leading anywhere but deeper into the wilderness. The silence of their disappearance was deafening. Then, 8 months after the group vanished, a solo hiker named Eleanor Vance stumbled upon something unexpected. She was far off the main trails, a seasoned explorer seeking untouched corners of the forest, when she saw it, glinting faintly beneath a thick tangle of ferns, half buried in the damp soil. It was Liam's camera. Water-resistant, sturdy, it had survived the harsh winter and the damp spring. Eleanor, aware of the missing persons case that had haunted the region, immediately recognized the brand and model from news reports. Her heart pounded as she carefully retrieved it, the mud-cake device feeling heavy, laden with unspoken answers. She knew, with a chilling certainty, that this was not just a piece of lost equipment. This was a direct link to the 4 young people who had walked into these woods and never returned. It was a silent witness, holding secrets that the forest itself refused to yield. The authorities handled the camera with extreme care. Once cleaned and examined, its memory card was intact. What they found on it was disturbing. The early footage was as expected. Cheerful, mundane moments of setting up camp, the friends laughing, the panoramic shots of the pristine forest. Then came the second day's hike. The camera's perspective became increasingly unsteady, Liam's breathing audible, growing ragged. The landscape blurred as if he was moving quickly, or perhaps struggling. Suddenly, a sequence of images flashed across the screen. Blurry, dark, almost abstract. A dense thicket of trees. A sudden, sharp intake of breath from Liam. Then, for a fleeting moment, a shape. Not quite human, not quite animal. It was a distortion in the deep shadows, a figure that seemed to absorb the light rather than reflect it. It moved with an unnatural fluidity, too fast to properly register, leaving only an impression of elongated limbs and a hunched posture. There was no sound other than a low, guttural growl that seemed to vibrate through the camera's microphone, a sound that cut off abruptly, replaced by a deafening static hiss. The image then became a chaotic swirl of black and grey, as if the camera had been dropped or violently snatched away. Then, nothing. Just the endless black of the lens cap, or perhaps the complete absence of light, for the remaining 3 minutes of the recording. No screams, no pleas, no sign of the other three. Just that flash, that growl, and the sudden, absolute silence. The footage was analyzed by forensic experts, by audio specialists, by wilderness search and rescue teams. Every frame was scrutinized. The strange growl was identified as non-animal, non-human, or at least unlike any known predator in the region. The blurry shape, it remained undefinable. Some suggested pareidolia, the mind creating patterns where none existed. Others were less dismissive, whispering of cryptids, of creatures beyond scientific understanding. But no one could definitively say what it was. The discovery of the camera reignited the search, but with a new, chilling intensity. Search dogs were brought in again, cadaver dogs this time. Helicopters flew grid patterns. Ground teams combed every inch of the area where the camera was found, expanding outwards. They found nothing. No clothing, no personal items, no camp remnants, no bones. It was as if Mark, Sarah, David, and Liam had simply dematerialized, leaving behind only this terrifying, enigmatic recording. The authorities were left with an artifact that confirmed something truly horrifying had happened, but offered no tangible evidence for what or who was responsible. The silence of the forest seemed to mock their efforts, holding its secrets tighter than ever. The footage became a classified piece of evidence, locked away, too unsettling for public release. A testament to an encounter that defied explanation. Years have passed since Eleanor Vance made her chilling discovery. The case of the 4 missing hikers remains open, classified as an unexplained disappearance. Theories abound, whispered in hushed tones by seasoned park rangers and online true crime communities. Was it an animal attack? An unusually aggressive predator? The growl was too strange, the lack of remains too absolute. Was it a lone, deranged individual living off-grid? The suddenness, the specific, unsettling visual. It didn't fit conventional human violence. Some speak of supernatural entities, of ancient forest spirits protecting their domain, or perhaps something darker, something alien that slipped through the veil between worlds. The truth, however, remains trapped within the silent frames of Liam's camera. A moment captured, a warning unheeded. 4 lives extinguished, swallowed by an ancient, indifferent wilderness. The footage, a brief, horrifying glimpse into the unknown, serves as the only testament to their final moments. It asks a question that still echoes through the vast, silent woods of the Olympic National Forest. What did Liam capture on his lens in those final, frantic seconds? And what precisely took them all? The forest keeps its counsel,
its shadows deepening with every passing year, guarding a secret that may never